In this video, we're going to add some benches from the 3D Warehouse, which is a model repository for Sketchup, into the gallery scene. I'm here in Sketchup Pro 2022, and I'm going to go to my Windows, 3D Warehouse. The 3D Warehouse is a repository for models in the SketchUp format that you can download, and they're freely available for use in projects. In addition to these models, you can source models from vendors and other sources and model libraries, and even kind of paid libraries of models to help augment our scene. And what I really want to do in this scene is I want to tell the story about how this gallery space is going to accommodate the public and how they're going to have places to sit to peruse the artwork that will eventually go on these walls. So I'm going to search under all categories. I'm going to type bench into my search field. And then what I see are a number of bench models from different kind of contributors that I can download. And I'm looking for something fairly clean and anonymous. I think this bench is going to work well for me. I'm going to click on download. And I'm prompted, do I want to load this directly into your SketchUp model? Sure, in this case I do. So I'm going to load this in here. It looks like it is coming with some other components. So let me take a moment and orient myself, turn off it looks like I brought this in. Let me make a tag for 3D bench. Take this entire component, put it on 3D bench. And now I'm going to double click the component. I'm going to select this textured object, that plane, and erase it. Now go to camera, standard view, top view, and I'm going to make this a parallel projection. Take my bench like so. And let me copy paste that bench in. I realize at this stage I don't have any guides in place, but I think that will be fine. I'm sure I'll be updating these and aligning them more clearly with greater intention in the future. So I just made a copy and paste of two of these. Let me go to my camera, standard view, left, and so that I can see into the model, set my model, my face style to be wireframe. And this looks good. I'm going to go back to my main scene. It looks like I put them on the wrong side of my scene. So let's go back to my top view. Face style wireframe, camera parallel. Move them down like so. There we go. And the last thing I'm going to do is just duplicate those one more time. So let's Control C. Oops. Control V. Something like that. There we go. So maybe a few more benches than I would want in a gallery, but I think it's beginning to tell the story. Maybe I'll just delete these and move those. Move those somewhere like that. And then let's do a quick render of this scene. We've got now our materials on the baseboard, materials on the floor, on the walls. Going to go into my Vray render settings through my asset browser. Set my render output down to a relatively small 800. Set my quality to low. Let's do a test render. Looks like my materiality on this bench needs to be updated. So good thing it's a component. I'm going to separate out, replace one new component into my scene, and let's make some changes to that. So I'm going to bring in this bench, double click the component to open it. Looks like I have another component. I'm going to double click that. There we go. There were several nested components that I had to adjust here or to open. I'm going to make a material of type generic. Let's call this bench metal base. And I'm going to apply that to my selection. I'm going to make that very black, very reflective, turn off my Fresnel, lower my reflection down, maybe lower this a touch, so this will be a highly reflective but not highly polished metal surface. And then I'm going to make a material of type generic, call this bench fabric. And select those objects, apply to selection. I'm going to make my fabric slightly cream colored, and maybe I'll think of it as maybe a little more leathery than fabric. So I'm going to make a reflection, bit of a reflection on it. Click off. And let's go back to our render view. Maybe I will move in closer to one of these so we can assess it a little bit more easily if we render like so. That does not appear to have the materiality that I was expecting. So let's think about what's happening here. I'm going to move this into my scene. Let's go inside to that object. Let me try reassigning bench metal base, assign to selection. Bench fabric, apply to selection, apply to selection. And what about the bench that's in the sunlight? Wonder if these materials have already been assigned. Let me delete that material, and this looks like it came in as well. Delete that material. I think that's what was happening, is that there were materials that were imported from this bench that were already placed on it. This is more what I was expecting. Yeah, so we're getting that polished metal. I can begin to see some of the highlights here reflecting the wall over here that's lit. My leather is a little too yellow, I think, and a little too polished in its reflection. So I'm going to make some change to this. I'm going to back off of the saturation of the color, and I'm going to lower the reflection glossiness. I think I will delete this one in the middle. Let's see if we were to have a view looking into a window opening at the end of the space over that bench. Render. There. So I have a bench that I got from the Sketchup warehouse. It saved me the effort of modeling it, but of course I'm dealing with whatever the models are that are available in the warehouse. So I'm limited by those models and by the form of them. So I may not care for exactly how this model here is kind of divoting in, but very quickly I'm able to populate this scene with a number of benches. And you can see as I get more objects in interacting with materials like the floor, I get some very elegant shadow play, and smaller features are turning up, optical features that I'm not getting when I had an earlier version of the scene that didn't have these objects in place. So that's going to the warehouse, getting a bench, and placing it into this scene in SketchUp.